So let's talk about priming. Priming is pretty important because it is the base coat that goes underneath. You have a raw filament PLA printed material, and then you need to paint it. If you just paint on it, the paint may not adhere, and it may also really show all those layer lines that happen because of the 3D printing process. So you want to sand your print. Some people, again, like I said previously, get fanatical about sanding and layer lines and things like that. I just don't want any major issues. Like the face had an issue on it initially, and I really had to sand the devil out of it to get that discrepancy out of it when the front faceplate. Why the face? Could have been the butt. No one's going to be looking there. You sand it all down, and then you got to primer it. So there's this spray primer you can get, and some of it is filler and primer. So it just the way it goes on, it's really great. And then I was like, now that I've primed all these pieces and touched them up and I'm happy with them, I need to paint them. Well, what colors do I paint this droid? Right? Really, the sky's the limit. You could choose any color that you want. I want to be legit, right? So I was taking a look in the droid division forum, and there's a guy, Trav, on there who's super awesome, who's built a K2SO, and he posted in his chat a message saying, hey, here's my latest build, and these are the paint colors I used. I was like, thank you. So Krylon is the flavor of choice for the brand for the paint. You get a couple colors. You can get like a metallic aluminum, you can get like a dark metal gray or gunmetal, depends on what it's called, and you gotta buy quite a bit. It takes a lot to paint a 6-foot droid. So feel free to buy 3 or 4 cans at a time, because there was one point where it actually ran out. Like I couldn't find it locally in town. And Amazon was like $40 for a can. I'm like, you're joking, right? So I held off and waited. But when you see it, buy it. It doesn't go bad necessarily. And of course, go YouTube, how to use spray paint if you've never used it before. Spray paint, for me, it was good enough. It's what I wanted to use. Fast development again. I just want Cipher 5 to look like something and not like a plain printed or primered product, right? So yeah, so we paint it all up, we get it in there, but yeah, just the amount of effort that you went through with the sanding and the priming and the painting was a huge deal. And so, luckily it was getting near summertime, it was June, and so I was able to lay the pieces outside in the yard and run outside and give them a bunch of sprays, and the stuff dries really quick, which is great. So in some of the photos, you'll see some red, and that red is Bondo. So Bondo is another type of filler that you can get that works. Wood filler is good and all, don't get me wrong, but Bondo can also be really good. And I had a pretty serious gap when it came in the upper body, so in the torso piece at the back of the neck, between the shoulder blades. There was just a discrepancy while printing. These pieces are supposed to go together nice and joined, and they didn't. There was a gap like half a centimeter. So it was pretty serious. So, I tried my best to fill it with wood filler, and it kept leaving gaps. So then I filled it with Bondo, and it is what it is. It's behind the neck. Like, who's looking on a 6'4" droid behind the neck, right? But still, I want to be legit about it. I really enjoy this project, and so I'm going to put in my time. So I had some Bondo fixes. There were some printing discrepancies on the lid for the torso, so I did those as well with Bondo. And then you just sand it all off. And then of course the story about the failure of the hip. So yeah, rather than print the hip again, I just kept the failure. No one's going to see it. By the time you sink that piece of the hip connector into the right hip, half of the failure is gone. The other half is hidden by remember the fancy bracelet? So it's hidden by those piston things. And so really you won't even see it. And then there's a failure there at the bottom of the groin area. Who's looking down there? Seriously, what are you laying on the ground looking up? So yeah, like all those are really minor in the grand scheme of things. As long as it's structurally sound, that's what mattered to me. So yeah, we were good to go. So yeah, I got a couple types of paint, we got some filler and primer, and yeah, we just go to town on it, and then it goes together nice and clean, and then painting is next. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate you sitting here and listening to me recap my journey here. We're getting into electronics pretty soon, and we'll get all the computers going on. We got the Arduino, which runs the motors. We got the Raspberry Pi, which is Linux based. It's the brain of the whole operation. Internet connectivity and startup sequences. The ChatGPT will be involved for the AI. Microphone, so you can actually speak to it. It'll hear you, and it'll be able to respond. And yeah, lots and lots of wiring. All the lights, all the servos. Basically, we have to redesign all the joints to make sure that servo motors can fit into them, and that's where the journey is going to take us pretty soon. Okay, thanks for stopping by, and take care.
Not right now, citizen.